So what I'll be doing today is sort of just taking stock of the Namibian economy, as my presentation shows the title. So I think if we talk about navigating the economy and talking about how we want to move forward, it's important to take a step back and actually understand where we're at currently with regards to the economy. And what I've chosen to do is, and so what I only have 15 minutes, by the way, which is very short for economists, but what I've chosen to do is I've chosen to show you where we're at relative to our development plans. And we have a lot of development plans, but I've took two. Our very first one, the Vision 2030, is that it's still a thing. We're not in 2038, so it's very much still a development policy document. And I've also chosen to compare us to where we're at with respect to the most recent development plan, which is our Arabic Prosperity 2. So you see a lot of graphs. These will be intimidated. It's just to make the information more visual for you. So where I'll start is sort of the quantitative targets. So the great thing about Vision 2030 is that it actually gives us quantitative targets. It gives us numerical numbers for where to be for various macroeconomic variables. And the Arabic Prosperity Plan does not necessarily give us that many quantitative targets from an economic perspective, but it does give us qualitative targets which are equally important. So I'll start with the quantitative targets first. And I'll start with our gross domestic product, GDP, which is essentially the size of the economy or the growth of the economy. And our target there, according to Vision 2030, is around 5%, just about 5%. And what you can see is that our GDP growth has, unfortunately, for the most part, since 2004, which is when Vision 2030 was crafted, has for the most part underperformed our target in terms of where we want to be. And then on the right, you have your GDP per capita growth. So that's just GDP per person in the country. So you just take your overall GDP, divided by the number of people in the country, which gives you more indication of how much each individual will be able to earn. And again, because we've underperformed our GDP, we have underperformed, unfortunately, on our GDP per capita as well. So why have we underperformed? There have been a couple of reasons for that. Namibia has been hit by a lot of shocks. Unfortunately, a lot of them out of our control. We've had recurring droughts. We are the driest country on the continent outside of the Sahara Desert. So it's no surprise that we do suffer from recurring droughts, which do have quite an impact on the economy. We've also had in 2016 a slowdown in government spending. So prior to that, the government ramping up a lot of spending and stimulating the economy. And the Namibian economy has also been quite dependent on government spending. As a result, the construction slowed down. But of course, COVID-19, which not only affected Namibia but also other economies across the world. We've had commodity price slowdowns. The Namibian economy is also quite dependent on mining commodities and mining activity. We've had weakness to our trading partners such as South Africa, China. We've had consumer slowdown, just given the level of unemployment in the economy and the level of wage growth, which is quite low. We have quite a lot of anti-investment policy, and we also have a very bureaucratic business environment, which the previous speaker alluded to, which does make entrepreneurship and starting business in Namibia quite difficult. So I've just picked a few. Of course, there are many more that I can speak to, but these are some of the shocks that the Namibian economy has experienced, which has resulted in us underperforming our targets. The next target that we have is in terms of our investment growth. I think our previous people also spoke quite nicely to this. So we have had periods where we've overperformed our target actually. If you look at your 2005 to about 2010 level, if you look at your 2012 to about 2015 level. But more recently, we have quite underperformed between around 2016 and 2020. And last year, we picked up a little bit, so it is a bit of a mixed picture. Investment has been quite mixed in terms of our target, but we haven't achieved it consistently over the years since Vision 2030 was crafted. And what you see if you break down these numbers, a lot of their investment is very concentrated in mining and extractive type of sectors, and not necessarily broad-based across many different economic sectors, which is actually what you want for a robust and thriving economy. So some of the reasons we have underperformed. Okay. So some of the reasons we have underperformed, again, bureaucratic business environment that does affect your investment growth, slowdown in government spending and investment policy, same as the previous points I mentioned for overall growth. High utility costs, we have quite a monopolistic market structures, so what you find in the sectors that you have a very dominant player who takes up a lot of the market share, making it very difficult for smaller players to participate. COVID-19, high corporate tax rates, and very much people-based systems, which does make business and investment quite bureaucratic in the country. But I think our previous speaker already spoke to that, so I won't spend too much time on that. The next target that we have is our socio-economic indicator, inequality. So we aim to have a Gini coefficient of 0.3, and that's just a quantitative measure of inequality in the country. We have unfortunately never reached that target. We have remained quite above that target, sitting around 0.6 on average. We are the second most unequal country after South Africa, and that does impact also from the socio-economic fabric perspective. So unfortunately, on inequality, we have not surpassed that target. We reached the target that we want to reach. Unemployment, again, also haven't reached the target that we want to reach. So the target was sitting at around 2.7%, if I recall correctly. And we're way above that, currently sitting at 32.4%. By 2018, we don't have updated data yet, but just to say we haven't reached that target at all in terms of unemployment, quite a high unemployment rate. I think even higher than that. So what are some of the reasons that we have not achieved these inequality and unemployment targets? Namibia is suffering from a skills shortage and a skills mismatch. That just means that the skills that graduates or individuals who have been to some sort of education program, those skills are not necessarily the skills that are required by the market. And we also have a lack of imported skills because it is so difficult to import skills from a foreign perspective that could be transferred to the individual in the country. We have insufficient entrepreneurship opportunities, just given the bureaucratic business and investment environment in this skills shortage. We do suffer from multi-dimensional poverty, low wages, and quite an under-diversified economy, which does limit the opportunities for improving our inequality and employment situation. Next target is with regards to our trade deficit. So one would want to be a country that exports more than they import, and the trade deficit is essentially the difference between export and import. So if you have a deficit, you're importing way more than you're exporting. And we did surpass the target early on after the completion of 2030, but generally we do have quite a deep trade deficit just because the Namibia is unfortunately a net importer of goods and not necessarily a net exporter of goods. Reasons, we do have a lot of non-tariff barriers, especially from a quota perspective, also speaking about the business environment, etc. Again, an under-diversified economy, most of our exports are related to mining and minerals, and not necessarily other goods and items. Strong reliance on agriculture exports as well, that speaks to the under-diversified nature of our trade. Our consumption has quite a high import element, that means most of what we consume we import instead of producing ourselves, so that goes into trade deficit. And we also have limited industrial production in the country, just given that we don't have a strong industrial base. The next target is our fiscal deficit. That speaks to government finances. So when we're in a deficit, that means we are spending more than we are receiving from our taxes and other forms of revenue. Again, we have underperformed the target for quite a while. We did overperform around 2005, again a little bit around 2008, but generally we are underperforming our target in terms of the fiscal deficit. And the reason for that is that our economy relies
30 seconds.
Yeah, actually 30 seconds. And the reason for that is that our economy, from a revenue perspective, relies quite a lot on what people sub revenue. So those are Southern African Customs Union taxes. And those are taxes we share with the Lesotho, Eswatini, South Africa, and Botswana. From a trade perspective, we put all the trade-related taxes in one pot and then share with each other. And And that obviously is impacted by how this country is performing and how trade is performing. And they tend to be quite volatile and do affect the extent to which we can increase our revenues. We also have a high share of operational expenditure. So generally in economics we say you want the government to spend on development expenditure, which is your capital projects, rather than your operational expenditure, which is your daily expenditure. And then we have also experienced a shrinking tax base, which is given the high levels of unemployment, the fact that we're not creating enough jobs, and the fact that we're not creating enough businesses as well. Inflation, which I think has been the theme of the year. So again, quite a mixed picture, but generally we have had inflation above the target level of about 4.5% that has been stable by the 2030. Again, because we're a net importer, our inflation has been driven very much by mostly external factors. The only really internal factor that has driven inflation is your housing boom that we had around 2015-2016, which increased inflation quite significantly. More recently, we've had the Russia-Ukraine war, which increased our food and oil prices. We've had supply chain disruptions, which have made the importing of goods very expensive. Exchange rate volatility, as you know, we've linked to the South African rand, we really have control over the volatility there. We've had global oil price shocks and also global food price shocks. And as a result, we haven't necessarily always achieved our inflation target. So those are sort of the quantitative targets. So I'll get into the qualitative targets, which is with respect to our annual prosperity plan. So I'll just So our prosperity plan under the economic advancement pillar specifically has three goals. And the first is to optimize our natural resources and the stewardship of our natural resources and public assets. There's quite a list there of what we intend to do in order to achieve that goal. And we've really only made very good progress on one of them, which is the establishment of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which was established 2 years ago. The others we sort of neither here nor there, and then we have now made enough progress in terms of supplying our mighty industry with sufficient quantities of water. Just going to rush through this in about 5 minutes. But generally, also just for context, this plan was established in 2021, so just to be fair to the process, we still do have some time to achieve some of our targets. But this is where we're standing at right now.